Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mang. Welcome back to Solo Roll Mangging. So yeah, I mean things are going along in this sort of experience. Half playing through an RPG and half kind of world building a setting. So last time, we started up and I was just like, let's find a job to do. Let's find a quest to go on. And we rolled up some stuff and that kind of got morphed into bringing back a previous character and previous item. A while back, I had sold the Scepter of Endless Charm that I found in a dungeon. I sold it to this real asshole merchant named Fred. I think we had a full name for him. Fred Shiphagen. So yeah, I sold it to him, and then, we kind of went on with our lives, and a year passed, and now it turns out that Fred got up to some shenanigans with that scepter. He basically kind of started a cult. He started amassing a following of people that he was charming constantly, really just like brainwashing them really to believing that he's like a god, He had a whole harem. And eventually, the law kind of got on his ass and he fled town. And so now, they put out basically a bounty for him and for the scepter, most importantly. We searched his house in town and we ended up finding like his books, his kind of mercantile books. And there was a repeated mention of a contact that he has in Emelamar, which is the desert city to the west. And so he spent quite a bit of time just kind of fleshing out Emelamar. And so that city is ruled and controlled entirely by a group of magi that are like the pinnacles of magical ability in this setting. And they're very independent. They just want their own little paradise in the desert, and that's it. And but there's a contact there, presumably not one of the magi, that's been doing business. I think we kind of decided it was some sort of drug related. This guy grows or whatever a lot of illegal narcotics, because most stuff is legal in Emelamar. They don't really care as long as it's not really that disruptive. But there's not that many people living in the city, so he sells it abroad to various contacts, including Fred. So we bought a horse named Mert, and we headed west towards Emelamar. Along the way, as we were passing into this sort of savanna region, we bumped into two members of the Band of the Iron Hoof, which is a centaur tribe. And so we did more world building and blah, blah, blah. This northern area is controlled by the Band of the Iron Hoof. The southern area is controlled by the Clan of the Silver Hand. And we determined that basically the Band of the Iron Hoof, who found me, they have this prophecy that was foretold a couple hundred years ago by some sort of, oracle that they probably had that's no longer alive or something like that. Once you have a world that's kind of suffused with magic, you can just have prophecies left and right. from oracles that have just seen the future and been like, yes, this will happen at some time. And let me tell you about it. Write this down, you know, and then you have a prophecy. And that can be as specific or as vague as you want, but all the good prophecies are usually pretty vague. And their prophecy is basically that, you know, they are kind of a group divided, a faction divided of centaurs, or split into two. But their prophecy is that an outsider, basically a non-centaur, will come along and unite the two of them as they used to be, as the Brotherhood of Kuros. And that's kind of where we left it. Now, I did a little bit of thinking, not a whole lot of thinking, just a little bit, as to why these two would have been divided. Because I had determined that the elder of the Band of the Iron Hoof up here that I'm speaking with, he's pretty old. He was around a couple hundred years ago, back when the two groups actually split. So this isn't like an ancient split of thousands of years. I mean, this is relatively recent. And so I was like, okay, so a couple hundred years ago, what would cause these two centaur groups, this centaur group, to kind of split in half? And some go one way and some go another way. And I decided that that kind of coincides with the timeline for the Golden Union. And I haven't really fleshed out the whole history and the entire timeline, blah, blah, blah. It's all very flexible. But I can't remember. Let me open up my setting guide. So, yeah, it's currently, I guess now it's the year 236 AU. And I put AU as like after unification. Because I think I wanted the unification of the construction of the Golden Union as a nation to be relatively recent. A relatively young nation. So it's 235 years after unification. And so, yeah, I mean, that's around the same time frame. And I thought, okay, well, what if the Golden Union came in here a couple hundred years ago, and back then Kuros was relatively kind of wild and untamed, and Melamar was here, because Melamar's been here for like thousands of years. But especially, around the mountains here, this was all kind of wild. It wasn't always that way, but a couple hundred years ago, it was that way. And so the Golden Union came in and they established, the farming communities. They started throwing up little towns and villages and started civilizing the area. And this created some conflicts. And so that's what, again, time frame, it's all a little loosey-goosey, but that's fine. But basically the presence of, a civilized human faction spouting up towns and everything, created some conflict for the centaurs, who used to have, a much wider territory. And so the centaurs have kind of been pushed westward to sort of the edge of the desert. They don't want to go into the desert, really, because that's just not a good way to live. And also, they don't want to fuck with the Melamar, just like no one wants to fuck with it. But to the east now is all just like civilization. Humans. So they're kind of just sandwiched here between the two. And that's where I figured there would be kind of a schism among the centaurs as to how to react to this, because I was thinking about the centaurs and the two factions, how they are now. There's one that's focused more on like the horse aspects and being a little bit more wild and untamed, and then there's the ones that are focused a bit more on the human aspects, and they're fine with kind of being a bit more civilized. And I thought, okay, well, that could be a great, sort of explanation for the schism. The Band of the Iron Hoof wanted to reject modernity. They wanted to reject civilization and reject humans, and just kind of go their own way, be their own people, living off in the wilds. Because they figured nothing really good could come. They would never be accepted by humans, really, or thought of as equals in any way. Because, look at how humans treat other animals. Look at how they treat horses. To them, centaurs would just be little more than pack animals and workhorses, things like that. But the Clan of the Silver Hand recognized that if they want to continue to survive in this modern world, they kind of have to adapt. They have to play nice with civilization. They have to kind of be integrated in some way. They can't just be this wild, lawless species, because eventually they will be snuffed out. So it's better to just play nice and kind of get in on the ground floor as being, somewhat respectable rather than savages. And so this created a schism. And the two kind of, the factions splintered into these two, the Band of the Iron Hoof, Clan of the Silver Hand. They were no longer the Brotherhood of Kuros. And, it was just kind of like a natural divide. I mean, centaurs that believed one way went with others that thought that way, And so now the Band of the Iron Hoof kind of survive as the centaurs used to. Living off the land, hunting, doing a lot of hunting. The Band of the Iron Hoof probably is almost regressing a little bit. Like they're starting to maybe raid. Maybe they're raiding this town here a little bit. Whereas the Clan of the Silver Hand is trying to really elevate themselves and become a bit more civilized. They're starting to wear clothing, and giving themselves proper names, that they've heard. And perhaps they're even like starting to maybe trade with like this desert village on the coast here. And maybe they're also wanting to trade with this village. But that's really complicated by the fact that the Band of the Iron Hoof is like raiding them occasionally. So they're really kind of distrustful of centaurs, which is just leading to more friction. Because they're like, you're fucking all this up for us. We're trying to become civilized and you're just fucking it up. So there's just constant battles between the two, and, they both want to just wipe out the other one, the other side, so that their way of life can reign supreme. That's where we're at. And so the prophecy is just that an outsider, someone who is not a centaur, is not of either of these factions, or, nothing like that, pretty much that is of the human faction, will come in and find a way to unite the two. That's what I had. Now, I think that's all well and good for like a book or something. But I don't know how Garland is going to actually do that. How can I appease both of these factions? And I think the crux of how I would solve this is that it's drilling down to kind of what they both want. the Clan of the Silver Hand doesn't necessarily want to be humans. Not really. I mean, they don't want to, like, have a big city, you know, where they're strutting around with finely tailored clothes, stuff like that. Really, they just want survival. And that's what both of the factions want, is they want to just survive. And it's more just a difference in how they achieve that. So really, we need to just secure the survival of the centaur species. And so the best way to do that is to find some sort of accord. But like we're gonna have to speak with pretty much the human government and get some sort of like treaty in place, or some sort of thing on paper that pretty much protects the centaurs and their way of life. Get them into some sort of like I know where all this is kind of pointing. Like, get them casinos, you know? That's basically what we're looking at. Because, you know, this is how humans operate. And the Golden Union is relatively young and fresh. They've only been on Kuros for a relatively short length of time. So they don't have that many villages and cities here. But as time ticks on, you know, you fast forward 1,000 years, a lot of this is going to look very different. Like, these forests are going to be, like, cleared out. And there will just be villages and towns everywhere. Along the rivers and stuff. And, you know, they're never probably going to fuck into the desert or anything like that, but all the rest of this fertile green territory right here, this is all going to be kind of transformed. A lot of it will be farmland, sure, but it'll be human-controlled territory. So basically, I would need to go to the leader of the Band of the Iron Hoof and go to the leader of the Clan of the Silver Hand and basically tell both of them that, look, I'm going to make sure that, you know, this region is yours and is protected, and the government isn't going to touch it. But that it's always the same old thing of, like, why would they believe me? Why would they believe anything that human laws and stuff that can change at the blink of an eye? There's no real guarantee. But I mean, I don't know what else I can do. Right? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, like the raiding aspect that the Band of the Iron Hoof is doing and is gonna continue to do, that's kind of an immediate thing that we need to just shut down. But I guess that's basically what I would say to, like, the elder or whatever, the leader of the Band of the Iron Hoof, is to just not raid any human settlement for the time being, while I kind of work it out with the government to make sure that you guys in this area is protected and is not encroached upon. But it's even saying that, it's like I just don't know, because their territory kind of runs, you know, is in this area, and presumably they'll continue to expand, assuming they get along. And they're gonna take over this whole little region here between the two rivers, and then that's a major kind of road that's gonna continue to expand. So they're kind of in the middle of shit. It's funny, you know, when you think of like D&D, you just think of, oh, go on this quest and go into this dungeon and find the magical MacGuffin. You don't really think about geopolitics too much. Interspecies geopolitics. But that's kind of what we're looking at here. But I mean, I really can't help but draw comparisons to, like, you know, Native Americans. Yeah, they were here first. They got utterly shit on because there's just, you know, there was an overwhelming opposite force. And then there were, like, you know, some kind of appeasements made after the fact, after they got fucked over. And I feel like that's probably how this kind of would happen. Like, in the end, there won't be that many centaurs left, and they'll just be kind of an oddity that exists in this world of humans. You know, and there's this prophecy, but who's to really say whether the prophecy is true, whether it actually concerns me, you know, how vague it is, so on and so forth. So I guess, yeah, I mean, that's what I would tell the leader of the Band of the Iron Hoof at the moment. How do I summarize all this? Okay. I mean, it's really hollow. All right, well, let me try rolling. Would this be a command or a guy? I guess it doesn't matter. Command is if you're speaking from a position of authority, which I guess as the chosen one, I suppose I am. And I think that probably is a factor as to whether he believes and trusts me or not. So let's roll a command. Let's set the DC at like 12. I rolled a 2 and a 1. Okay. Miserable. He doesn't believe me at all. Alright, so yeah, basically he interprets this as me, like, favoring the clan of the Silver Hand. Because I haven't told them to, like, stop doing what they're doing. You know, I haven't told them to stop going to trade with the humans. I've only told them to stop raiding the humans. So clearly I favor one side over the other. And perhaps I'm not the chosen one. I didn't roll a critical failure, so they're not going to, like, attack me or anything, but he does not really believe me, and he's not going to stop raiding. So then maybe I could get... I mean, with that, it's almost... almost like I am kind of favoring the Clan of the Silver Hand, because I feel like they may be easier to kind of cajole, you know, to control. I could get them into a sort of position to, like, defend that settlement from the Iron Hoof. So I'm gonna leave the Iron Hoof. I'm gonna get on Mert, and I'm gonna go south, and I'm gonna try and meet with the Silver Hand and their leader. So the Silver Hand we know to be a bit more friendly. Even if they don't, like, really believe or remember this prophecy too well, I don't think they're likely to just attack a human riding on his horse. So it's probably not too crazy for me to meet with one or more of them that are just kind of in the area. Assuming they don't just mistake me for some... I don't know. I don't know what they would mistake me for. I'm a gentle-looking man. And, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can get directed over to the chief, or whatever, of the Silver Hand. And I'm sure that they can recall the prophecy. And I think probably... like, during a conversation, if I explain, like, what I heard about the prophecy and how the Iron Hoof thinks that I'm the person in the prophecy, yeah, they'd be like, I guess I could see that, you know, that sort of perspective. Like, they didn't interpret the prophecy the way that the Iron Hoof did. So they can kind of see how it was interpreted that way, but they didn't really take it that way. But, you know, the Iron Hoof are potentially willing to kind of see me as an agent that could unify things. And while there are probably a lot of centaurs on both sides that don't want any sort of reunification, they just want the other side wiped out. I think people that are... centaurs that are old enough to remember the unified centaurs are interested in seeing that happen again. So, I'll tell the chieftain of the Silver Hand that perhaps, you know, he should have some of his warriors go with me to this settlement to the north, you know, by the forest there, and perhaps be enlisted or you know, volunteer their efforts to defend the town from the Iron Hoof, you know, to explain with the leadership there the exact situation that's occurring and how they're trying to, you know, make efforts here. Just because I think they probably have been, like, trying, like, they have been trading with this village here. Like pelts, you know, lumber, maybe, you know, some other things like that. And they kind of want to trade with this settlement as well, just to keep expanding, you know, their kind of civilized notions. But they've just been warded off every time they go there because they keep getting raided by the other centaurs and they don't see a difference. So if I go with as like an envoy, as an ambassador of the Centaurs. And, you know, perhaps we can just explain the whole situation there and have his warriors enlisted as guards. And that might go a long way towards bringing some acknowledgement of centaurs as like a species ready to enter the modern age. You know, they can be negotiated with. They can be valuable members of society, and they're not all savages. That sort of thing. Not all savages. That's what I'm thinking. So I don't think I'm speaking from a position of authority here. I'm kind of just an outsider. So this is going to be a guile roll. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's the same roll, but just to understand the mechanics of the game. And let's set the DC again at 12. Just because I would imagine the chieftain could understand the logic of it as he wishes to become more civilized. We got a 6 and we got a 9 this time. Slightly better. Still doesn't cut the mustard, unfortunately. Yeah, how do I sweeten the pot then? I mean, what would be his complaint with it? Why wouldn't he trust it? It's probably he doesn't maybe have an issue with the plan. He just has an issue with me. I'm just a rogue agent, an outsider. You know, he's just distrustful of how I plan to like profit from the situation. You know, maybe he doesn't really see me as like altruistic or anything like that. So it's just me being distrustful. So I need to kind of put myself on the line somehow to convince him. So maybe I just, you know, kind of open myself up as like an adventurer, like as a mercenary. Like if he needs anything done, like I'm here to help. You know, I want to be a helpful person. There were some plot hooks for centaurs, but I don't know if anything. It's usually like centaurs as okay, I mean here there's like an orc infestation. Has had severe magical effects. The orc lord's magic sometimes more subtle than you expect. Centaur tribe has gone orcish. Orc-like centaurs and ravaging alongside orc warmen. I mean, that's pretty cool, but that's a little bit beyond what we're thinking of. All right, let me just spawn or roll up like a quest or something just to get my mind rolling. Kill, assassinate. Oh god, that's not a good start. Returning place. Buried, flooded. Wayward nature. Returning place. How can I? Doesn't really make any sense. Find, track, an unknown or new object. Theme is ancient or old. Complication is violation of beliefs. Violation of beliefs. I had a thought, and then that kind of like throws it out the window a little bit. And it's an unknown or new object. Find an unknown object. that is a violation of their beliefs. Why would they want me to find it? Doesn't make any sense. No, I got it. I mean, I got one that kind of makes the most sense, I suppose. Let's say that they had one of their clan, a very intrepid young centaur, you know, they're ready to take on the world, and he went to a Melamar to try and maybe make some sort of trade deal, you know, try and sell some pelts to them, or, you know, do something like that. And he has not returned. So the question, what happened to this centaur? And none of the other members of the clan are willing to go to a Melamar. So the chieftain decides that this, if Garland will go to a Melamar and discover the situation, discover what happened to the young centaur, then, you know, that will perhaps prove himself a little bit more in the eyes of the clan. There we have it. Okay. Spoke with clan. Not quite trusting Garland either. Told him to discover fate of, let's give this centaur a name. It had some names here. Dax. And Melamar. Okay. Well, there we have a quest. I mean, that's something actionable, right? That I can kind of work on. And I don't have to, like, rescue him, because we don't... I mean, I don't know the fate of Dax yet. So he may be dead at the moment already, or he may not be. But either way, you can discover the fate. An investigation in a Melamar. So, then I think with that, we're gonna continue on to our original destination of a Melamar. We have 2 quests now to do in there, and to kind of figure things out. I wish I had a map of the city, but it probably exists. I mean, like, here's part of a map of a desert city that someone made an incarnate. I think that's not bad. It's only part of it. I don't know if this person ever finished it. Oh yeah. Well, actually, is that even the same city? I mean, this person's made loads of maps. They're really good. Definitely check out this person on Reddit. Their name is SpliceX42. Loads of good maps here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, they have like parts of the city, but it never really They don't ever show the whole thing, but there's another city that they have here, which is fully finished. Look at this. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, I mean, I like the city itself and how it looks. And the only things that don't fit for like my city, there's no rivers going through it, because it's just out in literally in the middle of a desert. They do have plenty of like water. I guess I want to say like water features, like water fountains and stuff like that. But it's all magically created. There's no big river that flows through the city. And then the farmland. I don't think they have farmland either, because they also just like magically create food. But other than that, it's pretty good. And I don't know if I see anything of like similar size and scale that I'm like, yes, this is excellent. I mean, we don't really need a map. It's not like required for anything ever. It's kind of nice to have maps. They're fun to look at. But yeah, I mean, it's I like this image. There you go. It's you know, it's a city of kind of opulence. So I kind of like this image. Like, there aren't really any like, there's no poor parts of the town. There's no slums. It is in the desert, and so it is like in, you know, it's not like in a bubble. It is part of the desert, you know. There's sand all over the place, things like that. But yeah, it's pretty much all wealth, kind of. So there are loads of poor people that live in the city, obviously, but they're all pretty much slaves or otherwise like indentured servants. So they don't live in slums. They all live in like their masters' homes, just in like, you know, shittier parts of the home. But yeah, there's no slums. So it's definitely a very vibrant, lively, wealthy city. You know, it's like a jewel to look at kind of thing. But it still maintains that kind of desert aesthetic. And, you know, outside in the markets and stuff, it is very sandy, it's hot, you know, stuff like that. But there is the unique thing of there is quite a bit of water, you know, water fountains and little waterfalls all over the place. So yeah, very, very unique kind of aesthetic. So this is the city that we are heading into. And I think Amelamar probably does have a lot of visitors. It probably is a pretty big kind of tourist destination. For plenty of people that are like kind of mid-level of wealth. Like merchant class kind of thing. Like they can afford to travel. They can afford to get on a boat or stuff like that. And probably there are a lot of merchants that kind of flow through the city. But actually living in Amelamar is quite expensive. So, wealthy enough to visit, not wealthy enough to stay. Or wealthy enough, maybe, to stay in some of the nicer, like, hotels or inns or whatever, but they just don't live there. So, I think probably it is a walled city, just because. Actually, maybe not. Maybe it's not walled. Like, they're that kind of just, like, confident that nothing's gonna fuck with them. So maybe it's not walled. But at the same... Yeah, I don't know. Because, like... They kind of just survive on reputation. Well, obviously not entirely. The reputation is earned, but the Magi, you know, they know that most people are not going to come in there and start trouble. So I don't think they really have like a big walled city with guards outside checking to see who comes in and blah blah blah. It's like, no, I mean, come on in, but you know, check yourself. And I think probably going into and out of the city, you probably would see an okay amount of airships, actually, from the Empire of Nim. The Golden Union doesn't really have any airships. Like, maybe privately. Some wealthier people of the Golden Union have purchased airships or commissioned them or something. But as, like, a nation, they do not have any infrastructure for it. They have no production of them, blah, blah, blah. But airships are out there. And Amelamar is kind of just... Amelamar does have infrastructure for airships. You know, like a landing area and stuff like that. So they're kind of used to getting airships in. And there could maybe even be like a shipyard somewhere in the city. I don't know. It's possible. I don't think airships are, like, controlled by the government of Nim. I don't think it's, like, a state secret, like their military tech or you know, something like that. I think there's just their engineers have been able to figure it out. So it's really only just a matter of time before the Golden Union expands quite a bit and has airships all over the place. But for right now, for this specific time period of my setting, I wanted to lock down a little bit more so we don't have airships everywhere. But yeah, Melamar, the airships are a relatively common sight. Because they're in the middle of the desert. You know, it's like the easiest, best way to go to the city. Otherwise, you have to take a boat to one of like the port towns nearby, and then you have to trek across the desert a bit to get to the city. Like, it's not as ideal whatsoever. But yeah, so Garland is just gonna be riding out from Centaur territory on his way into Amelamar. And I think probably the time is going to kind of tick on. We still don't have any sort of reasonable scale of time or of distance. But I said, what, from Guthwald to Amelamar was a 2-day trip by horse? So this is what, like a half-day trip by horse? I guess maybe I could get there by nightfall or something. There is kind of like pathways that have been roughly made and kind of maintained where these dots are through the desert. Like, definitely the paths between these port cities and Amelamar are pretty well trekked. This one, connecting kind of the Golden Union, this is much more recent, is not as maintained, but it's visible. So yeah, around, nightfall time, Garland finally approaches the city of Amelamar, lit up, the jewel of the desert. And, he just kind of rides his horse straight in. And the city is always a little lively, no matter what time of day or night. But it's a little bit more sparse in the markets and the streets. And we need to find an inn for the night. So nothing is going to be slummy. All of the inns, even the cheapest one, is going to be relatively higher end. Do I really not have... Oh, there it is. So a room per night normally costs 5 silver per night. But that's like the average price for, your average inn. This is definitely higher end. So we're gonna say it's 15 per night. And a meal will cost us 5. So we want a room and a room and a meal. It's going to cost us 20 silver. Not a cheap place. We don't want to spend too much time here. But there is a branch of Miraggio's here, of course. And, they have magical means or whatever of communicating account values and stuff. So, if you can, I don't know, maybe they have some sort of like identification token or I don't know, something, and you can just say, this is my account. The money is in Guthwald, and they can kind of just confirm that. So we do have access to our funds if necessary. But yeah, I am just gonna get a night's sleep in Amelamar and wake up to a new day. Alright. Road to Amelamar. Spent the night. Okay, June 22nd now. Wake up. What do we want to do first? So the two things we're looking into are this contact of Fred's named EJ, or, that's what he went by in the book. And figure out what possibly could have happened to Dax, a centaur who made his way to Amelamar to sell pelts. I think the best bet probably for figuring out what happened to Dax is maybe to hit up the markets, ask around there. I mean, a centaur would be kind of an obvious thing. Like, there's not going to be many other centaur around. But I think See, that's... At a certain point, like, I have to somewhat detach myself from the character and become the DM and figure out specifically what happened to this centaur. Even if my character doesn't learn it, I have to kind of know it to determine other things, right? But let's say that I don't know. I mean, is there a good way of figuring of just rolling this up? I don't think so. Is there a table of just like shit that happens? Not really. I should probably use like these plot sheets more. I probably should. But I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Random prompts. That doesn't explain to me like what happened. There's got to be a table for that somewhere. Somewhere in the wide world of things. Or we could just kind of start asking questions, I suppose, and determine it that way. All right, let's just determine one thing right out the gate. You know, as a DM, is Dax alive? Let's just roll deterministic on that. All right, here we go. 6. Weak, yes. Okay, so he's barely alive. All right, I mean, that tells us a lot right there. He's barely alive. Then let's determine, did Dax make it to Amelamar? 3. No, he never even made it to Amelamar. So something happened on his way from the clan to Amelamar across the desert that has left him now in a barely alive state. I think that kind of answers a lot of questions, to be honest. He has been left for dead in some situation. Meaning that we can kind of rule out, like, most wild creatures, like monsters and stuff like that. They wouldn't keep him alive barely for an extended amount of time, you know? It could be like bandits or something like that. But again, why would they bother without there being some sort of ransom note or anything like that? So honestly, I think we can rule out most of that. It could be that he is being sort of he's been recuperated by a kindly soul. Someone has taken him in after some sort of traumatic incident and basically rescued him, and now he's recovering somewhere. Or he could still be in some sort of bad situation, some sort of like trap. You know, he like fell through the desert floor, like he fell into like a dungeon or something, like he broke some legs, things like that. So I guess we could ask, is he currently in a dangerous location, is our question. 2, no. Okay, so he is in, therefore, a safe location. That pretty much means that he's been rescued. Although it's not quite as interesting. I think it's more interesting if he is... Is he in a safe location inside of a dangerous location? Yes, I mean, there you go. All right. So right now he's in some sort of safe spot. He managed to get to safety. But getting to him will almost certainly require going through a dangerous location. So now we have entered into kind of a recovery situation. Now, again, Garland doesn't know any of this. And finding all this information out might be a little tricky. So I think basically what we're looking at is that he, Dax, the gentle centaur, probably made like some sort of beeline from, you know, the tribe, the clan of the Silverhand location, wherever they were set up. Probably made a beeline across the desert instead of going up here to take the road like Garland did. Probably because he didn't want to get too close to the band territory. So he just went straight across towards Amelamar, which is visible in the far distance. And along the way, he fell into some sort of subterranean area. And now is injured. He's barely alive. He's probably dying of dehydration, probably broken leg, something like that. But he managed to get to kind of a safe cubby or something like that in this dungeon, which is located in there. And now he's basically just waiting to die, unless Garland goes and rescues his ass. So, now that we've established where exactly Dax is, now we kind of have to get there with Garland. And I don't know really a great way to... I think if you're going to do solo RPGs, you really, really have to be good at not being meta. You know, not breaking the fourth wall there and stuff like that. You really have to be good at separating player and character. Because now you're separating DM and player and character. So we have to then come up with some sort of logical path that Garland would take to arrive at this destination. And I think the first step is that Garland would go to the market and start asking around about a centaur. Just because we know that Dax was planning to go to the markets of Melamar to try and sell pelts. And so, yeah, I'd spend, a couple hours just asking around to all the merchants, anything like that. If any of them have seen a centaur, and probably a bunch of them don't even know what a centaur is, but it's easy enough to describe. And I'm sure many of them think that I'm just yanking their chain, but no one has seen a centaur. And then I'd probably go to maybe to some of the businesses, the shop fronts near the southeast entrance, sort of. Ask any around there if they ever saw a centaur within the last few days. And none of them have. So I think Garland would conclude then that Dax didn't make it to a Melamar. People would remember a centaur within the last few days. It's quite an odd sight if you've never seen one before. So something happened to him on the way to a Melamar. What follows then really is just kind of shit. And I guess this really kind of just points to how good of a person Garland is. That he's gonna go out there to try and find a needle in a haystack, sort of where this centaur went, just to be a good person. But, so we would, I guess just ride out on Mert. And kind of, I guess, retrace our steps. Well, no, not retrace our steps. Retrace his step. We took the road. So now we kind of want to head in more of a beeline. Take an educated guess, sort of, as to where the tribe's, the clan's headquarters is that we were at. And try and just make a straight line across the desert for that. And hope that we see something. And I guess maybe we roll wilderness survival. Because that's kind of tracking, sort of. Yeah, survival, navigator, tracking. So we're going to roll on this to just see if we see any tracks or evidence of any kind that a centaur went this way in the last few days. And I think it's pretty unlikely that we would even notice anything. I mean, sands tend to just cover everything up. But we might be able to see, because he did kind of fall through the sand. So we might be able to find an odd spot like that. And I don't know what exactly it would look like. Because it's not just an open pit. But there has to be kind of an explanation as to why all the sand doesn't just dump down into wherever he fell into. So, I don't know. When in doubt, magic. But perhaps there's some sort of swirling or maybe a little depression that weirdly in the sand or something like that. So we're going to roll wilderness survival. I'm going to set the DC at 15 because I think this is pretty tough. But I do get advantage on it. Alright. Good. Yeah, so, we got a 17. Okay, so yeah, I do find maybe not tracks, because I just don't think there would be any, but perhaps some weird little depression in the sand that looks out of place. And maybe I'll get off Mert and approach. And I don't know, maybe like stick my arm down there or something like that. And see that it's permeable. One could pass through this sand and there's something down there underneath. Now I need to decide how I'm going to get down there. I guess probably I would tie... I don't even have a rope. Is that true? Why do I have a grappling hook and no rope? What the fuck was I thinking? Did I ever have rope? I don't think I ever bought rope, or I had it at some point. Oh, you know, I think I used it on the bag with the gem, and I dropped it into the ocean. And I got rid of all my rope. Damn it! Well, that sucks. We could just fall, but that's really dumb. With like no knowledge of how far the fall is. Really quite stupid. But I could hold one of my totem of flights in my hand as I drop. And then if I'm falling just a little bit too long, just snap it open. I guess that's my best bet. That's what I'll do. Okay, and then I'm just gonna hope for the best and drop down. Pass through the sand. And now we have to determine how far this drop actually is. I feel like we could set it to be a wide range of things. I'm thinking, like, what's the bare minimum? If I do a dice roll, what's the bare minimum that would, like, break a centaur's leg or something like that? Is that our question of the day? What's the bare minimum a horse could fall before he'd break his leg? I don't know. I feel like you could probably fall a pretty low amount. Like 5 feet. If you drop a horse from 5 feet up, it could break a leg, right? If you just land on things wrong, it's possible. But I also want it to be at least the height of, like, a room. So it has to at least be this, like, a ceiling to floor height of a room. So what's a decent ceiling? Like 8 feet? Let's say 8 feet. So let's do, boy. I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could do the dice roll then. We could do like 2d6 plus 6. I could do a d20 plus 7. I could do 4d6 plus 4. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do 4d6 plus 4. For the height of this fall. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 6, 8, 9 plus, so 13-foot fall. And we had rules for when Patrick died, I think. Or when I did some other fall. Oh no, when we did the fungal priests. Fuck, what were my... It was something really I just grabbed from any other game. It was like 1d6 every 10 feet. I think is what I did. Now, does that mean if I fall 19 feet, it's 1d6 damage? That can't be right. But if you fall 1 foot, it's not 1d6 damage either. That's why that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense, man. Fall damage, there's just never been anything good. This says 1d6 for every 10 feet. Or die at 50 feet and beyond. I mean, apparently, yeah, 1d6 every 10 feet is like the traditional D&D rules. Like Gary Gygax's rules for falling. I don't know. Sure, there's been plenty of takes on it over the years. I mean, yeah, I guess for a 13-foot fall, it's going to be 1d6. I guess that's what we're doing. So let's roll that. 6 damage. Ow! I did not land well. Great. I mean, that sucks. I have no healing whatsoever, by the way, and I have just dropped into a dungeon in the desert. The chance of me dying is decently high. This could be the end of Garland. This is not an intelligent thing to do. Okay, so I fell. Now we need to determine what I have fallen into. What is this location? And I think we've already kind of decided it's a dungeon. So let me try and find a dungeon map. Let's see here. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at Dyson Logos maps, I guess. We're definitely looking for something that's like a tomb, you know, kind of classic. We're out in the desert. It's going to be tombs. Okay. I think this might work. Just as a map, you know. Okay. And then the only other thing that I want is, I believe it was World Without Number. Worlds Tales Without Number had the really nice rules for like puzzle, threat, complication, yeah, creating challenges. Was it this? Yeah, I think it was this. Stocking rooms here. Yes, this is what I wanted. Okay. So, this is our map, our full map. This is Paradane's tomb, which I guess is fine. And I'm gonna go ahead and decide that we landed in this room right here in the west. So we kind of just plummeted into this room. Now, we know that Dax is alive, barely. He's injured, and he's retreated to some sort of safe space within this dungeon. I think we're kind of just gonna explore. I don't think he's in this room just because that would be a little lame. I mean, I guess he could be, but I think we're just gonna kind of roll for each room that we go into, and we'll just see. Like, if I ever roll, like, an empty room or something, maybe he'll be in there. Like, he broke a leg, and he, like, moved around, he crawled around to try and find a way out, but he couldn't find a way out. Because I think, like, the actual entrance here, which is to the north, that has been sealed off. Like, that's, like, sanded in, like, it's filled with sand. So, he couldn't, like, climb up and out of the way he came in, and this is sealed off, and he couldn't, like, force his way out. So he's literally trapped down here, pretty much as am I, except that I could fly out if I wanted to. But I'm trying to find Dax. I think the further we go through the dungeon, the less sense it makes for Dax that he like crawled through and stuff. So probably it does make the most sense that he is in this room and it's empty. You know, it's just a safe spot. I guess that does make the most sense, and I don't want to just fuck myself later by not having that happen. So, fine. Dax is here in the corner, leg clearly broken, and he's like unconscious. So, I'm sure I have a water skin. It's not written down, but I'm sure I do. I wouldn't travel across the desert without it. So I'll give him some water. And, you know, hopefully he'll wake up soon then. I like smack him a little bit. And I mean, he'll explain what happened to him, but I already pretty much know he was traveling across the desert and he fell into this pit. So that's that. And I'll say that I was sent by his chieftain to find him and rescue him. Now, there's an easy answer here for me to solve this. But it's not necessarily the most fun way to solve it. And oftentimes I will consider that. Like one of in I think it was Ocean 13. Yeah, I believe it was 13. And they're talking to Terry Benedict about like the situation and how they can't really like solve it, you know, to screw over Al Pacino. And he's like, "Oh, well, why don't you just knock out all the power like you did with you know, with my casino when you did the job on my place?" And they explain like logically why they can't, but then Don Cheadle's like, "And you know, we already did that. You don't do the same thing again. You do a new thing." That's kind of how it feels sometimes. There are often times I'll come up with a plan. I'm like, "No, I basically already did that. I can't do that. I got to do a new thing. I can't do the same thing." But no, the easiest answer, of course, for here is to just have both me and Dax use my flight totems, which anyone can use and activate, and we both just fly out of here and back to camp. That is the absolute easiest, best plan. But it's not necessarily the most fun, because basically I just say that that's what happens and the job is solved. But ultimately, like, not doing that is going to be far more complicated. Like, if I pretend I didn't have those flight totems. There's two ways out of here, really. There's the way we came in, which is tricky. Or there's the supposed front entrance, which I'm not aware of as a character, but it's there. And I'd have to actually, like, uncover it, which is a lot of sand to move for one guy in a centaur with a broken leg. So this is gonna be the fucking death of me, but let's poke around, see what we can find. Maybe we'll find some wonderful artifact or items that will solve us in a more fun way. But the flight totems are in the back pocket. So I assure Dax that, you know, I'm here now. I'm gonna solve everything. I'm a great hero. We're gonna get him back to his clan, and all will be well. And I'm gonna step out into this hallway. Now he does not have any sort of room dividers as far as like numbers. So as far as I can see, this whole hallway and connected hallway here, this is all one room. There's no other dividers. Like, there's no doors or anything. So I guess we should roll just for this one big room of hallway. So let's roll a d8. It's empty. Okay, well that solves that. And is there treasure? No. Okay. Well, that's quite boring and lame. But there you go. Very weirdly designed map, isn't it? Like this section here that's just like a four-pointed object. I mean, are these other little tiny nooks? What's supposed to be going in there? I don't know, but obviously I see stairs, like a little stairs going up here, so that's where we're gonna go. I guess I could roll for this little section here, but that's like hardly a room. I don't know what this is. It's like, I don't know, 5 feet by 5 feet or something with these weird little nooks going off of it. I don't know. And then let's try this door. Let's roll for this room. It is also empty. That's boring. Come on. 2, it's a creature. All right, is there treasure in here? Yes, there's a creature here with treasure. What creature? Type of inhabitant. Okay. I guess it's an ancient sorcerer king ruin. If anything. Adventurers searching for loot. That doesn't make a lick of sense, so no. Restless dead of the inhabitants. Do I really just want to throw zombies in here? Or mummies? Are there zombies in this bestiary? Probably not. There's Zoragami. No. There's ghouls. I guess ghouls are the closest thing. Ghouls. Are ghouls dead? Yeah, I guess they are. But I don't know if ghouls make much sense. I don't know. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, ghouls just live in kind of tombs. So I suppose just be some ghouls here. But this really makes it sound more like a ghoul outbreak. I mean, it discusses like a couple different ways to turn into a ghoul. I guess, like, yeah, you can get bitten by a ghoul and become one. Any creature that is slain by a ghoul and not consumed will rise as a ghoul the next night. So you could have, I mean, yeah, like, you could just fall into this tomb. So I guess, just like, there was a ghoul down here, and then, like, adventurers keep falling down in here, and, just turns them into more ghouls. So there could be a bunch of them. I guess let's get a number. How many ghouls there are? Let's roll a d8. 4. Alright. At least in this room, then. this main chamber here, there is 4 ghouls. I don't have a light. I guess I have a lantern. So I have my lantern on. And I have my lantern on. I peek through the door. And some of the light sheds on this fucking creature here. Just like that. And I see 4 of them. Probably close that fucking door. And, yeah, I think they're kind of like zombies, but they're like rage zombie. Like they're fast. And they're just ravening, like, rah! So, probably just like slam into the door. Try and break it down to rip into me. Gosh. Shit, what am I gonna do? I got a centaur with a broken leg. I got no scrolls. I have no combat magic of any kind. I only have 9 health. I don't know if ghouls are in this bestiary for stats. No. Do we have zombie? We do have a zombie, although we need it to be a bit more than that. Aswang? Oh, there is ghoul. How did I miss that? Yeah, there's ghoul. Okay, great. Level 3. 13 defense, 12 health. Paralysis, claws. Great. 4 of those motherfuckers. Shit! What kind of situation am I in here, man? I was supposed to be I was supposed to do an investigations in this glamorous city of opulence. Chasing down some pervert with a cult. Now I'm in a fucking tomb in the desert with ghouls and a centaur. Shit. Let me just think. I really have so little on me. And again, it's like... Yeah, I mean, I could just flee. But now, I hate doing the easy way out. It's too easy. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I have a bow, which does D6 damage. So even if I hit each ghoul with every shot and did max damage, that's still 8 shots. Now, maybe the centaur can use a bow. It's possible. And we could give him the bow and he could just lay there in the corner and shoot arrows. But that's inviting a whole fucking ball of worms that will likely lead to both of us dying. Combat, straight up combat is not the answer here. Hold on. We do have access to all of the shadow spells. So let me just consult it real quick. Basically, no. Basically, no. Nothing. I mean, that's all like subterfuge and stealth and, you know, manipulation. Nothing that's really... If I had access to any sort of domain, maybe there would be something. Fuck. This is, you know, a bit of a struggle of just traveling alone as like a mainly non-combative character. And I travel so light. I didn't like refill my inventory or anything. Got nothing. I don't even have rope. I could potentially go around and check out other parts of the dungeon to see if there's something more useful. But chances are I'll just get myself into more trouble. Yeah. I don't know. I'm at a loss, actually. I'm at a loss as to how to defeat this encounter. I was thinking about like sneak attack, but by the rules, there really is no benefit to doing a sneak attack because you have to be like have an ability like the assassin sneak attack. On a surprise attack, roll with advantage and damage is doubled. That's a sneak attack. And that sort of ability is often what a DM might just give you as any character if you land a sneak attack onto a target. Like if I sneak up on somebody while they're sleeping and stab them in the throat. Now, in reality, if you do that, I'm probably just going to say you kill them. You know, because if you stay stealthy enough to actually do it, then yeah, they're dead. It's just logical. So sneak attack's always kind of tricky. Because how sneaky could you be in combat? I don't know if it even mentions. Seem to discuss surprise, so I'm sure it's somewhere. Okay. Oppose senses check or agility versus senses. If one side surprises the other, they get a free turn to act. Now that's interesting. On a surprise attack roll. Surprise attack. Yeah. I mean, narratively, obviously, sneak attack's pretty obvious when an enemy is not suspecting it. But I think in general, like, you just can't really do sneak attack in the middle of a combat. Is there anything about distracting? As like a rule? I mean, I doubt it, but as something we could do, maybe. I don't know what sort of plan you got. The problem ultimately is that it's pretty much a dead end. There's no sneaking past them, really, because we're trying to get out, but the front entrance is sealed due to all the sand there. So, you know, obviously I can stealth past them. I can become a shadow. I can become invisible, whatever. But what am I going to do with all the sand? If they're all dead and I just have the room to myself for a while, then maybe I can dig ourselves out. What about teleporting behind it? I can only teleport where I can see. Just the classic porting rule. Yeah, it's the bummer. I don't want to do the easy way out, but it's looking like I might have to. Also means I'm gonna have to break both my flight totems, but maybe as a reward for rescuing Dax, the chieftain will give me some eagle feathers. I can make some more. Alright, I really didn't want to do it, but I wrote myself into a corner. So I'll have to go for it. So I'm gonna leave the ghouls here, go back to Dax, close the door there, and, you know, give him the flight totem. And tell him, you know, that this'll let him fly. This'll let him fly for an hour, or for like 6 hours, 12 hours, whatever it was. So he'll be fine. And then, yeah, we'll both just activate him. Down to ×0 flight totem. And we'll both fly up out of the sand hole in the ceiling. And that's that. I don't know why anything would complicate said activity. And we'll fly together. I mean, his leg's broken, but obviously there's no pressure on it because he's flying. He doesn't have to move it to fly. That's never specified. So it's just kind of floating through the air. And we'll fly back to his tribe, his clan. Which is a pretty boss way to kind of return from my quest that they gave me. Not only did I rescue him, but we're flying back into the camp. So that's good. I mean, I think that's a quest complete. In just really like the easiest way possible. Flight solves so many issues, man. It's ridiculous. Between flight, invisibility, teleport, I mean, oh boy. So, okay. Obviously, a quest deserves rewards. I still wish Heroes of Adventure just had better rules for treasure. This is what it says for reward. Heroes may be rewarded for completing quests. This may take the form of payment of coins, equipment, services, or information. So XP obviously favors so he could just owe us a favor. And then treasure allocation. Distribution of treasures organized by the players between surviving members of the party. And that's it. That's all it says. So it doesn't really discuss, like, how much you should pay as a reward. So I guess let's just roll on a treasure type. It's a D6 roll. A 2. So salvage is low. I mean, that makes sense. I didn't really want to... I figured he would give me money because this is the clan of the Silver Hand, so they're trying to be more civilized. They've been doing some trading, so they actually have silver. So it would make the most sense for them to give me some silver. But they're also not very wealthy, so they give me 15 silver. I think that's pretty solid. And I'll take it to not offend them. Because that's what humans do. We take money. And then he'll give me 3 eagle feathers. And I'm going to use those feathers right away to make totems, flight totems. And so we have to make a magic 10 check to succeed. Attempt costs 1 health stress. I don't think you can make these amplified unless we get a crit, I guess, maybe. But yes, magic 10. Let's just roll 3 times, see if we roll lower than a 10. 1. Oh, I did. Oh, and I actually failed the first one. Great. We're at 8 health. Alright. 1. Okay, we got 1. Does cost a stress. 2. Failure. Shit. Okay, 2 again. Success. I'm gonna be on death's door. 3. Okay, we got 3. Good. So we got 3 flight totems again. We got a little bit of money, and now he kind of trusts me a little bit. And he's potentially willing to go along with my plan of having the clan help out with protection of the local settlement. Which is all good. But I need to kind of rest now. If we follow the rules as written for resting. Which again, you'd think it'd be in the downtime section, but it's not quite there. It's in rest and recovery under survival. Overnight rest heals D4 or your fortitude skill die. That's all there is to say. My fortitude die is 0, so we heal D4 health. Alright. Asked around market for Dax. No one has seen him. Figured he went missing in the desert. Found him in a dungeon under sand pit. Used flight totems to rescue him. Received 15 silver pieces as reward. Okay, that was June 22nd. So we're definitely spending one night here in camp. I think they'll give me that courtesy for saving Dax. So let's roll a D4. 3. Okay. Probably want to spend another night here. But we could maybe make our way over to the settlement. If we should come up with the chieftain, I suppose. What's a good name for the chieftain? How about Dogo? Dogo. Alright. So let's see. His modifier. 18. He is cunning. This is a cunning chieftain. That's good. He will need cunning to survive. I mean, I don't know if we need to really... I don't know, I guess we could. His motivation as rolled is develop wrath. Which I don't know if that suits the chieftain of the clan of the Silver Hand. As I envisioned, I suppose. Let me try something else. Develop poverty? Develop poverty? That doesn't make any sense. Develop poverty. I guess maybe he wants to develop poverty in, like, a civilized sense. Like, they're not even at the level of poverty yet. They're just in the wild. He wants to introduce them to currency so they can become poor. No, I don't know if that's good. I feel like develop allies or something like that is makes much more sense. Develop poverty. Right. So Dogo is a cunning leader. He's trying to, you know, keep his people alive. Much like the leader of the band of the Iron Hoof. He's not that interested at this point in reunification. Like it's been a couple hundred years. They don't really expect it to ever happen. So they're both just interested in the survival of their people. It's like if the Civil War in the US went on for 200 years. Like neither the North or the South would really expect there to be a United States ever again. It just, you know, they're just divided. That's how it is. It's like North Korea and South Korea, I suppose. Something like that. Right. So he's going to dispatch a number of warriors to go with me to this settlement. I had a name for the settlement somewhere on like my paper map, which is probably downstairs. So I don't know what the settlement is called at the moment. We'll figure that out eventually. He's going to send 1d4 plus 1 with me, which is 2. He's going to send just 2. You know, he trusts me a little bit. He just doesn't think that this is going to go that well. But just as a foundation, you know, if they accept the assistance of these 2 centaurs as guards for their settlement, perhaps he'll send more. But he's already kind of spread a little thin as it is. They only have so many, you know, of warriors, and they're constantly battling the Iron Hoof. So he's gonna spare 2 for this endeavor, which is, yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's nice enough. So we head north. You know, we're like in the middle of this area. So we're heading kind of north across here, up and across the bridge. And I don't really have any details about this settlement mapped out. Like, I don't have population numbers. I don't have anything. It's kind of on the fringes here of civilization, so I'm not expecting that many people. But probably more live here than up here in the north. This is like the furthest out, except for the bastion up here. So, I don't know, maybe like 162 people live here. And, you know, there's a lot of loggers, hunters, things of that nature. You know, Guthwald constantly needs more and more lumber. And they keep clearing out forests here for farmland, but they also get shipments of lumber from here. They're tearing up this forest. So there's often carts, wagons going back and forth here. So it's not... I guess it probably does have like a palisade. There's like a big wooden wall around it. Just because this is kind of somewhat dangerous territory. This forest is not that friendly. And they're near the mountains. They're near centaur territory. You know, they're kind of out there, so it's definitely walled in a little bit. And yeah, definitely as we approach, me and the 2 centaurs, the guards out front, you know, get into sort of like a combat stance. But the fact that there is a human with them definitely gives them pause as to what's going on here. And, you know, I'll be very, very calm about it. Get my hands in the air, that kind of thing. And I'll say that I come as an envoy of the clan of the Silver Hand. And I wish to speak with their, you know, their leader, their mayor, I suppose. Probably be a mayor. Let's get a reaction from them. Well, do we want a reaction roll, or do we want to just determine if they, like, attack or something? No, I guess let's roll a reaction. D20 on the reaction table. It's an 8. Cautious. Wow, that's really... Who would have expected that they'd be cautious? So, yeah, I mean, they definitely tell me to not come any closer, to stay where I am on the other side of this bridge. But but they don't call for assistance. You know, they don't yell that they're being raided or shoot arrows at me or anything like that. But they tell me to stop, and they kind of confer with one another. And one of them says that he'll discuss this with the mayor. And then, you know, like 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, something like that. See, I feel like I'm just kind of dictating all this like a DM, and I'm not sure if I should be making more and more rolls about, like, things that happen, or things, you know, how does this go? Like, with these plot sheets and stuff like that. Like, if I do, like, complications, or, you know, like, throwing stuff in. Because, again, I feel like I'm running, like, pretty logical sort of scenario. But I guess, again, I could roll a reaction for the mayor to see if he even wants to come out to, like, speak. So I guess let's roll a reaction to the mayor of how, you know, the guard comes up to him and says, there's a guy out here with 2 centaurs from the clan of the Silver Hand. He wants to talk to you. How does he react to that? 19. He reacts friendly. Very good. So he's kind of glad to hear about this. Because maybe this means there's going to be, like, an end to the... Like, he's optimistic. Maybe he's a little naive. But he's optimistic, and he thinks, okay, this is good. There's going to be an end to the raids. And I definitely want to meet with these people. Okay, great. So he comes out. I was going to have him come out with, like, maybe a few other guards or militiamen or something like that. But he's really optimistic about this. So he just comes out with the other guard. And let's generate this mayor real quick, because we got these nice, easy charts. Let's come up with his modifier. He's pessimistic. No. The opposite of that. We just determined that. No, I need something vaguely... Alright, he's passionate. There you go. He's passionate. He's a passionate mayor. He's got a lot of, you know, energy, love for his little community that he's got here. And his motivation is to realize lust. He's very passionate man for everything. Okay, I mean, that's probably a bit more of a subdued character trait, not quite out in the open, but he's very he's very lustful. Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever come up, but all right, he's a passionate guy. Very magnanimous. So he would come out and he'd say, welcome, members of the clan of the Silver Hand. And Garland would probably... I don't know, would I want to speak privately? Probably. It's not really that necessary. I would just say, you know, that I represent as an outside interest the clan of the Silver Hand, I've heard that the Band of the Iron Hoof, the other faction of centaurs, has been raiding this settlement. And the chieftain of the Silver Hand, Chieftain Dogo, has offered up 2 of his warriors to serve as guards for this settlement in their war against the Iron Hoof, to prove that, you know, they are willing to make accommodations for society, things like that. So because this guy's really friendly and he's passionate, he's optimistic, let's roll to see if he accepts this arrangement, and I'm gonna roll with advantage. 8. So yes, he is happy to hear. He was not aware that there were 2 separate factions of centaurs. Like, nobody here was aware of that. Even though there have been 2 separate factions for 200 years, you know, people aren't going to really pay much attention. And obviously there hasn't been a lot of communication. So he's glad to hear that they're not with the Band of the Iron Hoof. Yeah, I guess he's willing to bring these 2 into town. And you know, a lesser mayor might kind of crumble here and have trouble kind of integrating them. But this guy's passionate. His people kind of like him, I guess. I would assume. So he's gonna, you know, try and convince them that these are the good centaurs. They're not bad centaurs, and they're here to help. Which is kind of, you know, a fairly big step for centaur/human relations, I guess. To kind of show that centaurs aren't all bad, and, you know, they're just... I mean, let's be honest, this mayor probably wants to bang one of the centaurs. That's you know, that's something. And that's an important aspect of relations. The banging. So, yeah, I mean, I think Garland's kind of done his job. Let me fill that in real quick. June 23rd. Escorted 2 centaurs to nearby settlement. Spoke with mayor. Integrated them as guards. Alright. And I think that's where we're going to be stopping. This was a much more eventful session. Certainly. Met with both of the tribes. We went to a Melamar. Not for very long. It was just a brief pit stop. We spent the night there. We went into a dungeon, saw some ghouls, rescued a centaur with a broken leg, managed to leap forward in centaur-human relations. Pretty good stuff. Next session is kind of wide open. I think we'll probably be going back to a Melamar and trying to hunt down this EJ character. But yeah, pretty good. Not too shabby at all. All right then. My name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging with Heroes of Adventure. And I'll see you fine folks next time.